Egyptian Museum, and she's going to be speaking on Tutankhamun Reimagined, Bridging Ancient Legacy and Modern Identity.
Hello all, many thanks for being here today. Today I will not speak about the Grand Egyptian Museum, but I will speak about a small project or a temporary exhibition that I have co-curated at the British Museum in London, celebrating the 100th anniversary of the discovery of King Tutankhamun tomb, and it took place in December 2022. This is the exhibition poster done by the British Museum. So the story started that the British Museum has no budget and it would like to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the discovery of King Tutankhamun intact tomb as part of the international training program devoted by the British Museum. I am a British Museum fellow. So a kind of a competition had been announced to develop and create a new idea regarding the celebration of King Tutankhamun. So the British Museum at this time was very keen to explain or highlight the modern inception of King Tutankhamun, or the modern, how come Egyptian museums nowadays look at King Tutankhamun and his legacy or his treasure. So I was honored to get the opportunity to work with colleagues from the Department of Egypt and Sudan in the British Museum, Dr. Marie van den Boeg and Dr. John Taylor. We collaborated for months to develop the exhibition concept and the content. And many changes actually has happened. At the first, the British Museum just wanted to create a new showcase inside the Modern Egypt showcase, which is located in room 4 at the British Museum. So we started our discussions through online meetings and through a visit to the British Museum. I returned back from London. I decided to make a survey with locals from Cairo and the local from Luxor. So within the interviews and surveys that I have done, I found that there is two concepts, how local Egyptians or how modern Egyptians are looking at King Tutankhamun. This is a showcase, and this was the previous one before 2022. As you can see, a modern object related to modern Egypt were displayed within the display. This is one of the interviews that I have done. So I found that local or modern Egyptians in Cairo are looking at Tutankhamun as an inspiration icon for creativity. It evokes their artistic creativity and creativity related to how to develop modern items, if it's related to furniture, to accessories, as we can see to the graffiti, which is a hip-hop art, and it's evoking their senses regarding the creativity and how we can mix and link between the old and the very ancient and the very modern concepts. While people in Luxor are looking at Tutankhamun as a symbol of pride, a symbol of identity, a symbol like he is still the king and ruler of Luxor. This is a small video. Here is in Luxor. As we can see, this is a logo which had been used as a visual identity for Luxor University. On the other side, and I am sure that a lot of you has visited Luxor, you always will find this welcoming poster for any villages with the mask of King Tutankhamun. So when I made the surveys and interviews and returned back to the team at the British Museum, we found that we have to change the concept. I believed that one showcase is not enough to show how come modern Egyptians are looking at Tutankhamun. So we decided to change the concept and return it to the high managerial. At this time was Dr. Harvig, and he agreed to change the concept. So the concept started. At the end, the British Museum agreed for the project to include 3 concepts. The first one. This is one of the things which had been happened in the Grand Egyptian Museum to be obtained within the Guinness record for making the hugest Tutankhamun mask with coffee and milk cups. And it had been done in 2018. This is one also of the concepts, how we are looking to modern figures or Egyptian public figures as they are the inherited legacy of Egyptian kings. So always Mo Salah is called the Egyptian king, and I found this commemorative coin in a hall that is selling artifacts and selling antiquities. And I was very fascinated by this one, and I proposed it to the British Museum and said, okay, yes, please, we have to buy it. Here is some of the modern concepts. As we can see, I'm speaking about the hip hop art and how come modern artists are very, very inspired and affected by the positive charm or magic of King Tutankhamun and his collection. By the way, this mural is in Zamalek and is very near to the Zamalek Theater if you would like any time to go and see it. And the artist who made it, a very young artist and a very famous one called Ahmed Nofal, the one that I interviewed. He is the one. And now if you're going to the Ring Road in Cairo, you will find a lot of buildings is full of these huge graffitis of Egyptian pharaohs, and sometimes he is very keen to present King Tutankhamun. This mural is in Haram Street. Another mural is within the Ring Road. This is some items that I will return back to it. Okay, so as I mentioned, that the exhibition, we decided that the exhibition will start with the temporary exhibition, room 3. When you enter to the British Museum to the right, you will find a small room dedicated for the temporary exhibitions. So we decided that we will make a temporary exhibition in room 3. Then the visitor will go inside a trail of ancient Egyptian objects relevant to King Tutankhamun in room 4 with 6 stops. Then the modern Egypt showcase. So within the survey and interviews that I have made, I was very keen to search for the artist who made the Zamalek mural. And I started to make a lot of connection with people that I don't know, till I got his contact and we met at the Zamalek in front of his mural and we had our interview. And I started speaking to him to understand how these very modern young people are looking at their heritage and the figure of King Tutankhamun, and I found that he was very keen to go to the Egyptian Museum in Cairo and look at his treasures, and he started to link between his modern aspects and the modern vision of art, or the hip-hop especially, and how he is looking a very pride feeling to King Tutankhamun. What happened that we made an interviews with the British Museum, and I invited Ahmed to the meetings. At the end, the British Museum decided to bring Ahmed Nofal to London to paint the temporary exhibition in room 3. So for 5 consecutive days, Ahmed was working a full day for the preparation of room 3. We have 3 rooms, 3 walls. And by the way, all the paintings within room 3 exhibition were inspired by the reliefs and paintings found in King Tutankhamun tomb, but with a modern vision. This is the second and the main wall in front of the entrance of the gallery. This is Tutankhamun sitting on his throne. So he was inspired by the mask and by the Osiris possession, and he is holding in his hand 2 cans, or spray cans, yes, and we will find the evil snakes going around him, but he is protected by his throne and his power as Egyptian king. And this is the third wall. By the way, it wasn't finished, and we had to open room 3 without finishing the lower part. We were very tight in time. And this is inspired by the baboons. You know, there is a baboon's possession in one of the tomb walls. So now we have the gallery. So this is room 3, the first stop at the temporary exhibition of Tutankhamun Reimagined. So as we can see, we have moved the statue of King Tutankhamun from room 4 to room 3, and it was in the middle of the gallery. So displaying the grand statue of King Tut in the center of the room created a kind of a modern dialogue between this colorful representation of the king, reflecting how contemporary Egyptian artist is inspired by King Tut figures and his ancient presentation in black traditional artistic possession, making his offering to Egyptian gods. Then we will move to this is a very near shots for the gallery. As I mentioned, we had a very low budget for the project or for the exhibition. So we were hoping to provide digital screens telling the story of the exhibition or telling the story of how modern Egyptians are inspired by King Tutankhamun through the interviews that we had with Egyptian locals, but we couldn't. This is a very near chart for the statue of King Tutankhamun. You will find now the statue returned back to its original possession in room 4. Then we will enter to the British Museum and we will start our trail in room 4 with 6 stops. The first stop is, or the 6 stops are reflecting the history of King Tutankhamun family, and we started with the 2 statues of his powerful grandfather, King Amenhotep III. So we will find 2 statues of King Amenhotep III. Then we will be moving to the second stop, or the second statue, which is the line which is holding inscriptions related to King Tutankhamun. Then we will move to the king's list, and we used it to explain how King Tut and his father, King Akhenaten, were omitted from this list, and it shows that Tutankhamun had been discredited soon after his lifetime and had been struck from this official record. As the list jumped straight to King Horemheb, as we can see, whose statue also was included already in the trail, by the way. Then we moved to Stela of King Akhenaten, and here we were explaining the strong relationship between Tutankhamun as a father of King Tutankhamun and how this heroic king make a revolution related to the religious aspects of ancient Egypt, and how afterwards King Tutankhamun were suffering from this revolution and the changes which happened to his name after that. Then we have the statue of Horemheb and his wife, and here we explained as well the important role that Horemheb has played in King Tutankhamun's life. And the trail is ended with the modern Egypt showcase, and here we will find about 15 artifacts which had been displayed. So some artifacts had been within the British Museum collection of modern Egypt, and the other artifacts that had bought from Egypt with me when I was traveling to the British Museum. So we will go through the artifacts. So we will here find how till now Tutankhamun is a public figure representing the identity and the pride of modern Egypt. So the first currency to hold the head of a king after King after King Farouk, because before that it wasn't allowed for a currency to have a photo for the king. It was King Tutankhamun, and this currency was £1, which had been issued in 1930. He was the first Egyptian king ever to be represented on a currency. Then the National Bank of Egypt changed the King Tutankhamun photo to King Farouk, as we can say, on the second one. Then it returned it back again to King Tutankhamun in 1953. Then we have the 100 paper, and it was the first and last design for a vertical 100 paper, and it holds the King Tutankhamun mask and part of his reliefs and his cartouche. This 100 pounds had been issued in 1980s and had been ended to be used in the 90s, half of 90s. So far it's not in use, and it became an antique currency. Nowadays we have the £1, the famous one, which had been made from bronze and we still in use, which is the circular bronze one. And here we have the commemorative coin holding half Mo Salah, the Egyptian king, from the British people perspective, and the half of his face with the nemes, or the half mask of King Tutankhamun. So we are speaking about a daily use for his figures and his presence within modern Egyptians. And here we have a tin can, which is returning back to 95, and at this time it was very popular to use within Egyptian houses, and it's related to Pesco Masr company, and it had been used to sell and keep biscuits and sweets or desserts. But after that it had another uses within Egyptian houses, like to keep the yarn and needles to swing things. This is one of the British Museum collection, and we have at the upper is the story, children's story, which had been developed by the Grand Egyptian Museum Education team in 2019, and it was telling the story of an Egyptian boy who has visited the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, and he got a very interesting tour within Tutankhamun collection. And when he went back to home and slept, he dreamed of King Tutankhamun, who started to tell him the story of his life and his discovery. A copper vessel, which is holding the Tutankhamun throne name, and by the way, it had been hidden for many years, and now it had been displayed for the first time at the British Museum in the showcase. And the acquisition wasn't very clear within the registers of the British Museum. That's why they were not very sure how to يعني displayed. And by the way, it had been acquired or found before the discovery of King Tutankhamun tomb, and had been delivered to the British Museum within the beginning of the 90s. Then we have, speaking about the cultural soft power, we have here posts, and the very interesting thing, it had been developed by the United Emirates, Ajman Emirate, and it was celebrating 50 years of the discovery of King Tutankhamun, as enforcing or promoting the diplomatic relationships between Egypt and Emirates at this time. And we have also here Egypt Air magazine, which had been issued in 1970, and it also was celebrating the memory of 72, and it was also celebrating the memory of discovery of King Tutankhamun tomb. The British Museum has developed 3 official websites, which is still in use. Is it work as a website? Okay. Yes. Okay, we have here the official website for the Room 3 display. And here we are acknowledged the supporter of the display. Can we open, please, the second link? Okay. This is the same one. Sorry. No? Okay. There's 3. Oh, I put the same one. No. Suppose they are different. No. What? But they are different. They are not the same length. I don't know. Oh, I don't know. Anyway, there were 3 official websites. One of them is representing the 3 time-lapse videos that I have presented within the presentation, in addition to 2 other videos. One was Luxor local community interviews, and one was the interview with the Egyptian artist Ahmed Nofel. The other one, or the third one, is related to the British Museum International Training Program, and how it's very happy and proud that we delivered and developed this interesting exhibition telling the story of the program and the co-creation project and the project or the display itself. So thank you. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Heba, for a really fascinating talk. What was interesting was those first representations of Tutankhamun on banknotes was actually there's the Karnak statue, and then only later does the mask take over as being the public picture. I think that's quite interesting to see that the mask wasn't necessarily ubiquitous from the very beginning.
Yes,
Interesting.
Exactly.
Probably got time for a question or two. Anybody out there got any questions? Okay, if not, thank you, Heba, for an excellent talk.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.